So we will start with the Giants and the Dodgers series. I was glued to my TV watching the other day. I had the Dodgers all the way, but this really was, I do believe, the two best teams in baseball. They split their season series 12-12, multiple games, came down to the wire, but it is the Dodgers. They went all in at the deadline. It looked like it worked. Max Scherzer, a guy they got, close out Game 5. Dodgers take Game 5 2-1 and advance to the National League Championship Series.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? We kind of touched on it a little bit in the open, but this was just a classic winner-take-all game and just a classic series. I mean, beating the Giants 2-1, the Dodgers did, in San Francisco. I mean, just a great game. Max Scherzer coming on for the save there on 2 days rest. He's actually the oldest pitcher at the age of 37 to ever save a winner-take-all game since saves became an official stat in 1969. So that's your little fun stat fact for the day. But yeah, I mean, this is just a great game. Cody Bellinger with the tie-breaking single in the ninth gave the Dodgers the 2-1 lead. I mean, this game was just pure tension. It's funny. If this game is played in June, you say it's boring. This game is played in October, and you say it's electric. Because, a 2-1 game where someone doesn't score the lead run until the ninth inning, it's just like, oh, what am I doing here? Can I get back online for a burger now? Or can I get the beer guy over here? And it's just it's just not the kind of game. It's weird how just like the atmosphere and obviously the season being on the line just changes everything. It kind of changes how you view a game. And like you said, October is just great, especially with baseball. And Bellinger with that big hit. Mookie Betts had 4 hits in that game, a postseason career high, which for a guy in Betts who you feels like he's been around forever. And he's also a guy who was thinking what he did with the Red Sox. It's kind of surprising that it took him till now to get 4 hits in a game in the playoffs. But hey, good for him. And the Dodgers are just building on that momentum. They had that big win against the Cardinals in the wild card game. And I said it off the top. I think they're going to destroy the Braves. So I mean, there's so many things to take out of this game. So I'm kind of curious what you would take out of this game as a big moment or kind of your highlight.
Yeah, I take a lot out. First of all, Mookie Betts, 4 hits is 4 hits, right? Like, you're surprised and everything like that, but he has always shown up in the big moments, so no surprise there. The other thing the Dodgers did that I don't think can go unnoticed is how they approach this game from an analytical perspective. Julio Urias has been one of the best postseason pitchers the last few years. I'm not a wins-loss guy, but he also was 20-3 in the regular season, under a 2 ERA in the playoffs in his career. He's ready for the start. They don't start him. They start Corey Knebel, then they go to Gratterall, and that's one where if it blows up, it's leading our show right now. If either of them get rocked or give up a run, that's what we're talking about. I think the thought was with the Dodgers, you let the 2 relievers, their righties, face some of the guys at the top of the order. You give Urias a soft landing spot, let him be the bulk pitcher. He went 4 innings, 1 run. I think a move like that, when you have the payroll of the Dodgers, when you have the big game starters, to do that, to be that creative in a big spot, that was my number one takeaway. Just a fascinating game. You talked about it. I agree. If this was played in July, it would be a snooze fest. But because it's October, there's so much urgency with every pitch. The Corey Seager single to take the lead. Then you have Darren Ruff tying the game at 1. And then in the 9th. And this is why baseball is awesome, because Cody Bellinger, not arguably, he was a top 10 worst player in baseball. You look at the amount of plate appearances. He had 160.
He was actually 5 of 62 against the Giants all season. He was not only did he have a terrible year, he wasn't playing well against the Giants.
Right. And so, he's a guy obviously up and down. He has the MVP. He's done it. But he's had such a bad year. And to have him 8th in the lineup, I was looking at their weighted runs created plus the lineup. Everyone's like,
wait, hold on. What were you looking at?
The weighted runs created plus of everyone in the lineup.
Weighted runs created plus.
Yeah.
People, I hope everyone just heard what he just said. That right there is what's wrong with baseball. Because when we have these fugazi, meaningless numbers, I mean, what are we going to talk about next? Like average shoe size? But go ahead. That to me, we could do a whole show on this other thing. But to me,
I would love to do a show.
Analytics, I'm not going to be one of these, old-time people walking around with a cane telling you that.
That's exactly what you sound like right now.
Well, yeah, because you want to talk about ERA, you want to talk about, I'll even give you WAR. I don't really even care about that. But this thing you just said, average lineup percentage, heat, velocity, plus, minus, whatever. Go ahead, but finish your thought.
All right, okay. That I would love to do a 3-hour show just on this.
I think we might put people to sleep, but I mean, I don't really care. So
and it's like everyone's 100 plus, which is the average, and Cody Bellinger's in the 60s, horrible, but he's the guy who gets the game-winning hit. It's why baseball is the best. And then you have Max Scherzer. You talked about 37 coming in for the save. I think preview the series in a little bit. I think he's going to start today. It's not confirmed yet. Dave Roberts said after the game he's going to start.
Actually, that was funny. I don't know if you saw. They asked him. Well, I think it was right after they celebrated in the locker room. The reporter was like, "Are you going to be ready to go?" Game one is like, "I'm going to go party tonight, and then we'll see you tomorrow." So I mean, Mad Max, you killed the Mets. So I can't really say that I'm a huge fan of you, but I respect the mentality.
Yeah, you have to respect Max Scherzer, and you also look at it. The Dodgers pitching in this series was the difference. The Giants offense had 5 runs in their 3 losses, and the Dodgers pitching is what is going to likely, and we both think will get them to the World Series. So overall, I think just Giants Dodgers. It's unfair that I guess they had to go in a best of 5 and not a best of 7, being that they were the clear 2 best teams in baseball, but they're in the same division. They shockingly had never played each other in the playoffs, so I think it was fitting that both were at their best when it mattered the most.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a broken record. I don't know how many times I can keep saying it. This is what makes baseball great. When you got 2 great teams, the Giants winning that division, which you mentioned. I mean, and then the Dodgers having to go to the wild card game. They're just both great teams, and it was just a great game. I mean, I feel like it's funny when there's like bad games. It's almost like there's more to talk about because then I can complain for a long time.
Right.
But it's like when it's a good game. I mean, there's nothing else to say really than I had a really good time. It was really nice, especially when it's 2 teams I don't really root for. So it was kind of like I wanted the Giants to win, and they didn't, unfortunately. But it is kind of it's there to enjoy. Also, I want to kind of mention you mentioned Darren Ruff's home run. That was his first hit of the series. He was 0 for 9 to that point. So,
Crazy.
I mean, we talk about Bellinger being down and Ruff hitting this home run. And, I mean, Logan Webb had a good season, but, he was very solid, as you mentioned. To me, what makes the playoffs great is always those guys that come out of nowhere and, like, they contribute to the team, or, like, they've been down and, boom, they get a big hit. I'm sure as a fan of these teams, it's very frustrating when it takes forever for your guy to finally come through. But as someone who's just watching from a distance, that's honestly what makes it more exciting. And, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this and kind of talked about it a little bit, because I want to hear your thoughts on this. The Wilmer Flores check swing 100%. To end the game, because we've talked about all like the actual gameplay, but now let's talk about umpires. And I can go into a whole rant about how terrible officiating is in every league. I think mostly NFL and MLB. That's what I watch the most of, so of course those are going to bother me the most. But look, they say they want robo-umps for behind the plate. Can we get robo-umps for first and third too? I mean, like, that was just... This is the thing, and this is kind of my opinion on it, and I know a lot of people got really upset about it. And look, was it a check swing? Did he swing? No, he did not. It should not have been a strike. It was a terrible call, whatever. But these people, the way people are talking about this, it's as if the bases were loaded and there were 2 outs, and they just needed like a single to win. There was a guy on first, 2 outs, Max Scherzer was pitching, and you got Wilmer Flores at the plate. Barry Bonds is not walking out of the dugout to step at the plate. Willie Mays is not coming out there for the Giants. It's Wilmer Flores. Wilmer, very nice guy. I'm not one of these Met fans who fell in love with him just because he cried. I mean, like, I'd rather have a guy I hate playing for the Mets and play well. I mean, Wilmer was not that good of a player. I'm sorry. I'm sure maybe get some heat for that. But, so it's just like it was a bad call, and I feel like we have to mention it. But the people who act like they were about to win the game, but then they made this terrible... I mean, let's be honest. In all honesty, you could say, well, it was 2-1. Maybe he would have hit a home run. I mean, look, it's Wilmer Flores. I know he's hit some clutch home runs at times. Let's be honest. They call that a ball. All right, next pitch, he's popping up, he grounds it out. Maybe there's a strikeout anyway. I just think that, like, for people who act like they were, the way the response has been, it's as if people were like, the Giants were about to win this game, and then boom, terrible check swing call. It was bad, but I don't think they were like on the verge of a comeback or anything.
I 100% agree on that. It was a horrible call. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the check swing call, I think, is one of the most ridiculous things. I think it's nearly impossible when a home plate takes.
Oh yeah, well it's not like by feel. Like that's the other problem is like, look, it's baseball. It is what it is. You can't really like do it any other way. But like when you have officiating calls, and you see it in the NFL sometimes too, I guess. But it's like the calls come down to feels, which is just like that's. You're setting. There's not a textbook. I know it's like, did he break the wrist and all that? But
did he break the plane?
You can't really gauge that. Well, break the plane for football, but like breaking the wrist on the swing. Does that mean he went? Like, I just like whenever I watch a game, like and obviously I watch a lot of Met games. I watch an SNY. Like whenever there's a check swing, they always do the overhead camera angle. And Keith and Ron on SNY are always like, oh, he went, he didn't go, whatever. And like half the time before they even speak, I'm like, oh, yeah, he totally went. And then Keith's like, oh, clearly didn't go. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You know, like I think I'm a pretty astute guy. I mean, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but you know, and I think I know baseball. I've been playing it my whole life. Well, not anymore, but I was. And you know, I watch the game all the time. And it's just like, it's just like you're setting yourself. I don't know like how you would ever fix this, but like, it's not surprising that an umpire would mess up a field call in that spot. And again, it was a bad call. But I don't really think the reaction that's like, oh my gosh, like I don't really know how warranted that is. You know?
Yeah. The other thing is though there was a horrible one that went the Giants' way in like the middle of July.
But that's like, I mean, like that's like, I mean, are we gonna sit here and act like a check swing call in July? I mean, I guess what.
No. I wasn't gonna say that. I was saying I saw that reaction from a lot of Dodgers fans saying if this one went against,
so we're on the same page.
We win the division 100%. I do think even if he did go and he just didn't, and I can't always tell, that was one where you looked at it and you're like, all right, the count's 2-2, whatever. Even if he did go, I don't think you can make that call in that moment. You have to let the game play out. You know, I hate the check swing so much. It's really unfortunate that a great game like this, where the Dodgers were slightly the better team, needs to get kind of polluted with a bad call. So I don't think it changed, you know, the outcome of the game, but it quite literally ended the game, which leaves a very sour taste in my, you know, mouth as a baseball fan.